Lindsay Bruns, narrative speech. Teachers encourage their students to ask questions in class. But why is that? Do they not know the anxiety we have when raising our hand in class? Or that fear that we might get laughed at because they might view our question, or even worse, ourselves, as being dumb? Or maybe they'll get upset because we don't know what they are teaching us. But that's just it. That's just the reason why they want us to ask questions. If we do not understand and we do not know the criteria, we're going to struggle and most likely fail the class. If unsure about something, do not be afraid to ask questions for clarification. I've had my own personal experience with this kind of situation. It was not at the classroom, however. It was during track practice. My teammates and I had a little miscommunication with our coach. Occasionally, the distance team, which I so happen to be on, will run into town to do our workouts instead of the track. One of the places we like to go to is the Hoover Circle. The Hoover Circle is a road that originates and loops back around to the parking lot of the Herbert Hoover Museum. Carol, our coach, prefers to do the Indian file workout there. The other place we like to go to is the Square. The Square is a small neighborhood in town. It is shaped like a rectangle, hence why we call it the Square. It is a convenient place for us to do our interval workouts. Well, one day at practice, after the team got done doing their warm-ups and stretching, Carol approached the distance team, including myself, to inform us of our practice that day. She told us to do a 20-minute jog and then to meet her at the Square, where we will be doing the Indian file. I was confused by this, and looking at my teammates, I can tell they were confused too. We always do the Indian file workout at the Hoover Circle, so why is she telling us to do it at the Square? Against our best judgment, we decided not to question it. So on our way we went. As we got to the Square, much to our surprise, Carol was not there. We started to panic. We didn't know how much trouble we were going to be in with our coach. Well, we waited for 5 or so minutes before we decided to head to the Hoover Circle. Well, when we got to the Hoover Circle, Carol was still not there. We waited a little while before we decided to head back to the Square. Well, when we got to the Square, Carol was still not there. So we decided to head back to the Hoover Circle. Well, as we were nearing the Hoover Circle, we saw Carol faintly in the distance. She was walking away, so we sprinted and yelled after her. When she finally noticed us, we told her our story. We told her how we went to the Square, where she had told us to go, and that she was not there, and that we had been running back and forth, looking for her. Carol laughed at us a little bit and told us her story, how she went to the Hoover Circle, and how she too has been running back and forth. Well, she admitted her mistake in telling us to go to the Square instead of the Hoover Circle. After a few more laughs, Carol decided to have us go back to the high school. She figured that all this running back and forth was a good enough workout. And though running back and forth was a good workout, practice still could have gone much more sufficiently. If Carol was not so distracted and more focused on what she was telling us, she would have told us to go to the Hoover Circle and not the Square. However, my teammates and I also could have avoided the situation. We have learned that if we are unsure of something, to not be afraid to ask questions for clarification.